SF Commons is your community access television in San Francisco, the fourth largest city in California, which is known as the nation's food basket. We have abundance here, but we also have hunger. I'm joined today by someone who has been working with their organization to address hunger. For over 33 years, Food Runners SF has taken excess fresh food and connected that with communities in need. Joining me today is founder and director, Mary Risley. Mary, welcome to the program.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you.
Mary, I wanted to start off with some numbers. I've been reading our local newspaper, and before the pandemic, it said 23% of our San Francisco residents experience hunger. Since the pandemic, have you seen that number increase?
Well, I wouldn't see the exact numbers, but you can see by the people that are going to the food pantries, by the there are a lot of people. There are a lot of seniors and low income people that can't leave their apartments now. I mean, it is an increase, but I don't know the exact numbers.
Great. What I mean, are your services being reached out to more? Like, how does it necessarily work if you are in need of food from Food Runners?
So we have a map on the foodrunner.org website that will list about a dozen places where they can go and get our food. Churches, soup kitchens. What's happening now is you can't go into a soup kitchen and eat because of the virus, but so the soup kitchens are handing out individual meals on the sidewalk, and that's what we're providing.
And you're providing fresh food, which most food banks might give you a lot of frozen food and canned goods. Your specialty is delivering fresh produce and meats. Is that correct?
No. What we're doing is we're cooking them and making individual meals. So the meat, it could be a wrap with egg salad in it. It could be a chicken broccoli kind of mixture, or Korean something. But they're ready to eat meals.
Got you. And I know that your supply source pre-pandemic had been tech cafeterias and hotel buffets, and we're seeing the whole reality of that kind of excess food changing. How are you getting your food right now? How are you sourcing that?
So that our big suppliers are the farmers markets. We pick up at all the farmers markets whenever they're open. We pick up from retail stores like Trader Joe's, Molly Stone's, Gus's Community Market, and we pick up at some of the produce. The SF Produce Market gives us a lot of food.
That's terrific. And I know that previously, you weren't in the business of doing cooked food.
Right.
Of course, you had a long time cooking school, so I'm sure you have lots of recipes and understanding of how to prepare foods, but can you talk a little bit about how Food Runners SF sort of adapted to cooking in this time?
So the story is that there was a bright young chef who was working in a vegan restaurant down on Union Street, and he had a whole bunch of chili, and he phoned Food Runners, and somebody from Food Runners told him about what we do, and he said that he would like to cook for the hungry, and I said, well, you can come and cook in my kitchen. And his name was Todd Corboy, and after a couple of weeks of cooking in my kitchen and chilling the food and packaging it, and so they were bringing in donated food, he was cooking it, and then their volunteers package it and send it off to the different shelters. But he outgrew my space pretty fast, so now we're doing it in the what I call the Hamilton Methodist Church up in the Haight, and it's now called the Waller Center.
That's right.
And we have two very professional chefs from the St. Regis Hotel who are making at least 2,000 meals a day to be delivered to the low-income housing places and the soup kitchens.
Mary, that's amazing. You have such a long history of providing meals to San Francisco. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got the idea for Food Runners?
So when I had a cooking school down in North Beach, I sometimes had a whole lot of leftover food. And what do? Do I give it to the staff? Do I throw it away or do I drive it to Glide? And I figured there must be other people in the same predicament. For instance, bakeries and all. And so we decided to offer this free service using volunteers that we will pick up their food and take it to a suitable agency feeding the hungry.
And, you know, the interesting thing to note is that California law wasn't necessarily the most amenable to this type of service, right? Taking excess food from, you know, leftovers at an event, a catered event. Can you talk a little bit about how you've seen things change
Well,
policy-wise?
a really interesting story is that there was a health inspector who, from the San Francisco Health Department, Tina Huey, who investigated us the very first year, and she is still a food runner. So what happens is, you know, San Francisco's not even 8 miles wide. So a volunteer picking up food, you know, here and taking it there, it can't go bad in that short of time. And so the health department decided that, and they also said that they don't control transportation. They control the kitchen that it's made in or the kitchen that it's served from.
And there's a Good Samaritan law that the state passed in 2017.
No, it was in 87 and 94, or 84 and 97. I can't remember. There's the donor is protected from liability by both state and federal laws. And David Hsu has introduced a wonderful bill that went into effect January 2017, saying all food that's reached its expiration point from or sale by date can be donated.
That was
And here's a really interesting thing. Trader Joe's doesn't like to get publicity, but they for ever since they came to San Francisco, they've been donating meat, flour, dairy, flowers. We get fresh flowers from Trader Joe's. It's amazing.
That's lovely. Mary, you were citing the Good Samaritan Food Donation Act that Chu helped pass in the California Assembly, into the California law in 2018. It passed 2017 and took effect in 2018, and that helps protect folks who want to donate excess food from any liability, most liability if they donate to a charitable organization like Food Runners. So,
Exactly.
But you've been on the road a long time doing this service. Can you tell me anything that you learned specifically, having done this for 33 years?
So I think that the most important thing is that human beings like to help other human beings if they can figure out a way of doing it. And we're providing people with an opportunity to help their fellow San Franciscans.
That sounds like a great time to ask, how can we help Food Runners SF right now?
So you can, if you know anybody with a business in San Francisco that's throwing away their excess food, tell them to please donate it through Food Runners. And if you can't volunteer, or if you have friends that can't volunteer, send us money. Send us money. Volunteer or send us money.
Mary, you make a great call to action very clearly there. I appreciate you taking some time to talk to us about Food Runners SF. And I wish you all the best and a lot of